And I think it's so disingenuous. This happens in Spec Ops: The Line, where like they keep telling you like, oh hey, you have to go through the world, you have to play the game, but also the game's telling you to stop. And it's like, oh, do you feel like a hero because you're, actually the bad guy? You've been the bad guy the whole time. And I think it's very disingenuous for game designers to be like, hey, we worked very hard to make sure this is an interesting part of our game. Also, why did you do it, you stupid gamer, you nasty little pervert? Welcome to Mortified, the Friendship Quest, a podcast where two long-distance friends bounce media recommendations, all in hopes the other will like it. I'm Aaron.
And I'm a sleepy ghost.
And this week, we fall through the barrier to talk about Undertale. Before we surrender our souls to end humanity, remember you can help us on Mortified the Legitimacy Quest by subscribing to us on YouTube, iTunes, or Spotify, signing up for our monthly newsletter through the link in our show notes, or following us on Twitter and Tumblr at MortifiedPod. Leyla, do you remember the year 2015?
It's one of the ones I've actually lost completely.
2015 was a special year for me because it was in my memory. It was the year I turned 21. In many ways, it was the year in which I am still trying to recapture something of myself. I talked about this probably on some podcast, but that was like the year that I was like, man, that was the best year ever for me. And one of the reasons that is because I started to listening to podcasts, including a lot of video game ones, and Undertale came up a lot in those video game podcasts. And I'm just wondering, Leyla, do you remember any of the discourse surrounding Undertale back in the day?
Okay, so 2015 was the worst year of my life, and I don't remember it. And what I did a lot in 2015 was spend time on Tumblr. And what I know of Undertale is that everybody wanted to fuck Sans for some reason.
I mean, that is a key detail. Don't get me wrong. Great.
As long as we both understand the context from which we're coming.
Yeah. But my understanding is, like, neither of us had played it before this week, right?
It's one of those things, and I think I've said it on this podcast before, but like if something is too popular, I like leave it for a couple of years and then I come back to it generally, just because I don't really like to get caught up in a hype.
I think that's valid and fair. And I think we'll talk about, what you're giving it some distance means, playing it 6 years away from its peak. But yeah, for people who don't know, Undertale is it's an RPG that came out in 2015, like, pixel art, turn-based, also has some bullet hell elements. There's a lot of dodging, but basically it follows the story of this, your player character. For me it was Aaron, for Leyla it was Bean. Is that correct?
Yes, I named her Bean.
Yeah, who falls down from the world of humans into the land of monsters, and basically you learn that there's a war between the humans and the monsters, and to separate the two worlds, they put up this barrier that keeps them out, and the only way to break through that barrier is to collect 7 human souls, smash the barrier, and then the monsters can go back into the human world, but because they're segregated down there, the monsters have been having like increasingly worse quality of life, and everybody's like kind of bummed out about it. But like the thing that makes Undertale interesting, that made such a splash, is the way that it sort of subverts traditional RPG mechanics. If you're somebody whose first RPG was Pokemon, like you're gonna play this game in the completely wrong way. We'll talk about what that necessarily means, but because of the way that it took those RPG tropes and kind of made them, made itself a commentary on the way that we play games, I think it generated a lot of conversation, and I don't think, I don't know that it's as relevant as it was back in 2015. I mean, the games have come a long way in the past 6 years, But I am definitely glad we played it, or at least, consumed the story, because it does inform, it does take up space in that video game, narrative conversation that I would like to talk about.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to take up the same space for us as like Akira did, which is to say it is important that we watched it because we have a media podcast and we are people who like media and media history, but we are not the target audience, and that's okay.
Yeah, Leyla, let's talk about the characters. That's kind of how we do this podcast, and then we'll talk about why, we have some thoughts, certainly, but we will get to why it didn't necessarily work for us. Tell me about the player character, Leyla.
So generically, the player character's name is Frisk. So usually in RPGs, if you don't feel like naming your character, so like I grew up playing Dot Hack, if you don't want to name them and they're like a generically built character whose appearance you can't modify, you can usually just skip the naming and it gives them a default name. So like in Dot Hack, it's Kite. You get red or blue in Pokemon, like you brought up. But Undertale makes you name Frisk. There's no such thing as default Frisk. You have to name them. So I named mine Bean because I thought it was cute. They are not voiced. They have no dialogue. You kind of get to presume what they say based on the reactions, which there was a really good gag about that when you talk to a dummy and then later on in the game, the dummy's cousin is like, the things you said to him were so vile, but like, you don't know what you said. So it's a total shock. And it's just like a nice kid protagonist that you can kind of mold into one of the 3 types of game you could play.
Yeah, exactly. The first person Frisk meets in Undertale, however, is, you've probably seen an image of this. It's a little flower. It's a smiling little flower, and his name is Flowey, and he's here to be your friend.
Mm-hmm. Flowey's a little bitch.
Yeah, it's revealed that Flowey is actually like the main antagonist of the entire game, and he tries to kill you immediately.
Yeah, this is some fucking Madoka shit. Have you ever watched Madoka?
I don't know what Madoka is, but I thought you were saying Monica, who is a character in Doki Doki Literature Club.
Which is a game that
similar.
also fucks with save files. So Madoka is a magical girl anime that you start out watching, you're like, oh, it's a magical girl anime, this is fun and delightful and blah blah. And then it's the most fucked up shit you've ever seen in your entire life. Madoka put me in like a dissociative state after I finished watching it. And one of the main villains is not who you think it is. So same vein, same kind of vibe. So I did not trust Flowey when I met him, and I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah. After Flowey tries to murder you, you are saved by a goat mom named Toriel, who's a nice lady who just wants to keep you safe.
I love Toriel. Toriel, I'm so sorry I killed you on accident. I crit her. I didn't mean to crit her, but I did.
So here's the thing. You can't not crit her.
Fuck that.
Yes, we're now you see, we're going to talk about some of the choices made in this game. But yes, if you, for whatever reason, choose to fight Toriel in the final confrontation where she's like, okay, this is the only way I got to see if you're strong enough. If you choose to fight Toriel, you will automatically do like a ludicrous amount of damage and kill her. And she'll be like, oh, I wasn't protecting you. I was protecting them. And here we can sort of get into like how we decided to do our runs. Cause, I came in knowing that like there is a good route, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to do the genocide route. So I'm going to do the pacifist route. And I was like, okay, I'm never going to use the fight command. That's just a rule that I made for myself. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to always use either act or spare. And, after, like 10, 15 frames of like her being like, you have to, you cannot go back. You're not going to be strong enough. Eventually she lets you through, and she's like, okay, well, you know what? You seem like you're pretty strong and you're not going to fight me. So go ahead. I wish you the best.
So I was under the impression that you weren't not allowed to ever use the fight command, but like Toriel says, as long as you don't kill them, you can whack them a couple times. So that's what I was trying to do, is I was trying to whack her and get her low, because that's something that is like outlined in the tutorial process. Is like, okay, well, if you get their HP low enough, maybe they'll change the way they're going about things. And so I accidentally killed her, and the game doesn't let you. There's no like load game. So it killed my mom, and I felt terrible. And I knew at that point that like a pacifist run was out of the question for me, but I still did not kill anyone after her. With the lesser monsters, I didn't even ever touch the fight command, but with the boss monsters, obviously it was like a mix of the two. That being said, Papyrus did kick my ass. Yeah. And then, full disclosure, listeners, I did stop playing at the final Metaton fight, and I went and I looked at a playthrough, because by the time I got to Metaton, I was so fucking over it.
Yes, and I think that's completely valid. I didn't finish Thomas Was Alone when I tried it. And I didn't finish fucking Hyrule Warriors either. So like we're not going to be fucking completionist purists here. In the spirit of Undertale, we don't want to necessarily be completionists.
Oh yeah, I don't think I could emotionally handle a genocide run.
Yep. Metaton's a great character in my opinion. We'll see. We'll talk about Metaton in a sec, but we got to get to the stars, the actual main characters of Undertale, Sans and Papyrus.
Yeah, I mean, like, these guys really are, like, what people were obsessed with, right? And I'm not gonna lie to you, I had no idea that their names were Sans and Papyrus until I saw their fonts that they talked in, because it's Comic Sans and Papyrus. And then I was like, well, this is the funniest joke on the planet, so... I get it. Which one do you like better? Do you have a fave? Because my fave is fucking Papyrus.
Okay, so here's the thing. My fave is Sans, but I was very disappointed that Papyrus did not lay down his bony pipe and give me what I was craving during the game. Did you know you can date Papyrus?
No, that's wild to me, because Frisk reads like a 5-year-old.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it is a very strange game, and Papyrus does speak like a child, but apparently he is a consenting adult. I hate
that.
Well, let's see. I don't know. Let's.
Okay.
He wasn't trying to fuck me, but he did want to go on a date with me, and then he realized that he wasn't that into me, so I was a little offended by that, is all I'm saying.
I don't even know what to say. Toby Glass,
okay.
What's up? What's going on?
Well, like, that's the Sans and Papyrus stuff, or Papyrus specifically, is very interesting, because, like, the first, like, level of this game is you meeting them, and, like, Sans being like, I like to tell puns, and, can you just humor my brother? He really wants to be a captain in the guard, and he's very silly, but he's a good guy. And, I don't know what you did, but I was like, okay, I'll just do whatever Sans tells me, and I'll be nice to Papyrus, and okay, yeah, there's like a lot of traps, and none of them work, and you do some puzzles. The puzzles they were not very difficult. Like, I'm notorious for not having zero patience with puzzles, so I was like, okay, I was able to handle it.
Yeah, I like the puzzles. I thought they were nice.
Yeah, that is exactly the level of difficulty I want in a video game. But, like, once you start to talk to Papyrus, like, there's some, like, really funny bits, like, where he's like, okay, I'm going to leave out some frozen spaghetti in a microwave, and that's going to slow you down, and you won't realize that you're being slowed down, and that's going to be my secret, like, my evil plan, ha ha ha. And then later, after you, defeat him in the boss fight, he can be like, hey, do you want to, like, if you want to hang out sometime, you can come back to my house, and this is the line that he says, like, we can do whatever people do when they go into bedrooms, and he like raises his eyebrows, but he doesn't know what that is, because when I went into his bedroom, I was like, all right, man, what you got? He like a whole like dating sim screen came up. You could probably find a screenshot of that all over the internet, but like, yeah, he was just like, oh yeah, I should give you items to raise your stats or something, and It's very funny, and I like the way that they like break the fourth wall constantly. I do love that, generally speaking, in video games. I just really liked how they deployed Papyrus and Sans.
I hate what you just told me.
Oh no.
Oh, I was already kind of uncomfortable with having a flirt option in the act screen. Okay, well, choices were made.
I can't believe you didn't flirt with Papyrus.
I didn't flirt with anyone because I hate that option was there for a character that reads like a 5-year-old to me. Wow. Well, the spaghetti guy was my favorite because out of everything this game threw at me, it was the most anxiety-inducing for me because I kept waiting for him to know that I didn't actually eat his delicious spaghetti. And then, like, tell me I'm a liar when I was just trying to make him feel better, even though the microwave he left me was unplugged. True anxiety. But then, honestly, I was surprised that, like, the characters we befriended earlier in the game didn't come back later in the game. We'll get into it a bit later. I thought it was segmented a bit funny, but yeah, I love Sans and Papyrus, and like I said, Papyrus is my favorite because he's funny. Sans is just very, like, I feel like I would have liked Sans better a couple of years ago, because he's very, like, I don't know, he's just, like, bro-y, I guess. And I like a bit more earnestness nowadays.
Yeah, that's fair. There's Undyne, who is, like, a cool fish knight lady.
Yeah, I hated her at first, and then I fought her, and I thought it was the funniest fucking fight.
Where you just have to flee.
Well, not only do you have to flee, but she gives you a spear, she teaches you how to use it because she's bored, and then you have to just keep running away. She's so mad! Yeah, I thought the running away was... I got clued in when I noticed the heart turn back to red from... I think you turn... blue? No, you turn...
It's green? I think, yeah.
So I noticed when the heart turned back from green that it, like, went to red, and I was like, I can run away. But it did surprise me how many times. It was like 5 times you have to run away from her. But then the gag at the end where she, like, it fizzles out and you have to give her water, I thought was cute. Because she's a fish lady, so you don't, like, give her the cup of water, you just dump it on her.
Yeah, it's a good
I thought that
bit.
was extremely cute.
Yeah.
But, so, with Undyne, I feel like we should also talk about that little dinosaur boy that follows you around. The little yellow
kid,
guy?
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he's extremely cute.
Yes, I love the kid. The way they animate him is so adorable. Like, he, like, always runs and, like, falls and, like, slides a little bit and then gets back up and keeps running. And he's just, like, so excited to see Undyne. He thinks Undyne's, like, the coolest person ever. Very cute character.
That little running animation never fucking gets old. But, like, he's such a good weather vane for what the game is, too, because everyone's trying to hunt this human, and when he figures out you're the human, he wants to be your enemy, but then, like, can't, because you guys are, like, friends now in his eyes, which I thought it worked really well. I thought he was really cute. I miss that little guy.
Yeah, I think he's great. We also meet Alphys, Dr. Alphys, who is, like, this dinosaur scientist, and my understanding is that you did not love Dr. Alphys.
I like Alphys. I hate the way she's implemented in terms of gameplay. Because if she updated her fucking status one more time, I was gonna shut off the game.
Yeah, the way that... So, like, as you're progressing through, like, in my opinion, the most difficult sequence of puzzles in the game, which are still not that difficult, but there's, like, a lot of them in a row. And, like, Alphys will, like, constantly call you, or, like, you will get updates on her Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and, like, you're forced to read them, so you can't, like, walk more than a couple steps without updating it. And it didn't grate on me, it seems like, in the way that it really bothered you, but I can completely understand, like, how annoying that would be, especially if you're trying to, like, just get through the game.
Listen, I don't know if it's like an ADHD thing or if I'm just impatient or what, but I cannot stand having gameplay interrupted like that. And what makes it worse is that when you die, which I died like 4 or 5 times, but if you die, the fucking endgame screen is like 4 slides long. If I saw Bean stay determined one more time, I don't know what, I would have committed a crime. I can't. Like, just tell me game over and let me go back in the game. You know what I mean? Like, it drives me fucking nuts. Like, that's just me as a gamer, TM. That's just kind of how
As
I
a
do.
gamer, yeah.
Yeah, I don't really like. I should be clear. GAYMER.
There you go.
Yeah, I can't stand having like. If you're telling me solve a puzzle, that is a task you're giving me. I want to do that task. There was not a moment during that sequence between the lab and the core that I wasn't fuming. It was not a great gameplay experience for me, and just like my style of going about things.
Yeah, and that would probably be really frustrating, especially going into the final Metaton fight, because like that was a difficult fight. I enjoyed it, but it was not easy.
And then you're getting interrupted by Metaton the whole time with his stupid fucking game shows. Like truly,
I liked the game shows. I can't I can't lie.
I would have liked them if I wasn't already frustrated. You know?
Yeah. So Metaton is this like robot game show host, and he looks like a calculator with arms, basically. But he like rolls around and like, you know, he's like, oh, I'm a robot that's programmed to kill, but also I love to do various game shows. And like, there's a couple times where like you like will stumble into an area and like it'll be a kitchen, and it's like, oh wow, this is a kitchen. And like you're on a cooking show, and then you have to do like a little mini game to figure out how to escape. And there's another time where you have to disarm a bunch of bombs. And you have 2 minutes, and otherwise, you know, if you don't do it, then a big bomb will blow up. But then, you know, Metaton is like, you know, still trying to get you. There's a quiz show element. There's a lot of very interesting mechanics with Metaton, and I do like the way that they deploy Metaton as a character, because there's one point where like Metaton's like, okay, this is it, I'm gonna kill this human, and then that's gonna be the end of my game show. And he's like, but my ratings are so good, so I'm gonna get this call. And I'm gonna talk to somebody, and the person who called was like, "Oh, Metaton, I love your show so much. I can't believe it's ending. I'm so sad." And like a bunch of people kept calling and being like, "Metaton, I love your show, and you know it's the only thing that I have down here in this dark world." And like I liked that.
I did not get that. That never happened for me.
Interesting.
I will say, during his first game show, did you ever accidentally guess one of the weird questions correctly?
No, because Alpheus is giving you clues the whole time, and I picked up on that pretty quickly, so I just always checked with her. But which one did you guess?
Wait, she gives you clues?
Yeah, she is in the corner, and she's like using her hands to make the letters the correct multiple choice answer.
Oh my god, I was single-handedly just fucking...
Oh my lord, did you like get a piece of paper out and write down the fucking train problem and be like, okay, if a train is moving at 75 miles an hour...
No, I guessed that one correctly.
Crushed it!
Crushed it. I had to do it twice because I fucked up. I did not know she was making the look, because I'm so focused on Metaton. Like, I'm not looking at the rest of... This is my problem all the time. This is what ADHD is, I think. I was just, like, singularly focused on Metaton, and I was, like, not even looking at Alphys until the part where he was making fun of her for wanting to date the concept of the unknowable, which I thought was very funny. But no, so on the first run through, I got a bunch of them wrong. On the second one, I only got one wrong. And I was flat guessing.
Oh, that's very impressive.
Really fun. But I liked that. The baking show one was fun too, because the baking show one was like, it was good tension building, you know, because like nothing is happening. You're like, how the fuck is this gonna go wrong? Because it's about to, but I don't know how. And it ends up going wrong. But that was really great tension building. And then I didn't need the play. I didn't.
Oh, you didn't like the singing bit?
No, because I couldn't skip it.
That's fair, I guess.
I couldn't. Aaron, at that point, I was so mad. I was like, please, I just want to go and find the king. That's all I want to do.
Yeah, I liked that. Like, I thought it was kind of cute to see, you know, Metaton in a dress and being, you know, singing this song and being like, you know, the lyrics kind of actually match the music that's playing in the background. And like, you know, at first the song like starts to rhyme, but then he just sort of goes off and he's like, you're gonna be in the dungeon, you're gonna be super dead, oh no, whoopsie. And like I thought it was cute. I don't know, maybe I was just in a mood where I could meet it where it was coming from. I
think so, and I was just trying to get through it, so it just That was not great for me in a place where I was just trying to get through the goddamn game.
Yeah. We should probably have said this up front, listeners. We are actually double recording these next couple weeks. So this is coming. We're recording this on the 4th, but this is not coming out until like the 12th. So if we seem a little stressed in these next couple episodes, that's why. So please don't, we're trying very hard to make content.
It's just like I said at the top of the show, it's like, it does some mechanically very, very cool things. I love anytime like a fight is individualized, which is what all of these boss battles are. Like, you have to come at them with their own approach. Like, I think that's very cool. I thought even like Papyrus's little blue heart trick where it turns into like a little Mario game where you have to like jump over the bones. I really like that. I like most of the characters. I even like Alphys. Like, I just, again, like can't stand being interrupted that way. So, it's like good. It's a good game. It is just so not for me that, I think I would have started dreading it. And if I started playing it on my own, like, I don't think I would have ever finished it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I like about the structure of Mortified, is that it sort of forces us to at least try to finish things, even if it's not like playing it to completion. We still have to like watch videos and like be able to talk about it. So, in that way, I am grateful for the structure of the show.
No, yeah, same. Because I did go and finish watching the story after that, even though I quit in the middle. And the reason, I should be clear, the reason I quit I would have finished it out of sheer gumption, but the reason I quit in the middle of the Metaton fight is because I accidentally got myself in a position where I couldn't buy any more items. And I just, like, kept dying. So I was like, I'm not going to go back through and grind. I'm not going to go back through and, like, get resources. Like, it was going to take too much time, and I'm already, like, suffering from eye strain. So I'm out.
Yeah, that's fair.
But we have a couple more characters. So we have Asgore, who is the king.
Yes. What did you think of Asgore?
I thought he was fine. I watched him in a video, and I was like, I get your whole shit. I don't have too many thoughts on Asgore.
I started to break a little bit bad on Undertale at Asgore, and I'll tell you why. Like I said earlier, I was determined to get through this entire game without using the fight button. And thankfully, my wife was watching me play and like giving me hints throughout the entire time. That also definitely helped my ability to complete this game. It's just Sierra was just on the couch being like, okay, here's a hint about what you need to do. But, like, I was like, okay, well, Asgore, when you fight Asgore, he does this thing where he's like, okay, well, this is the final battle, I gotta take your soul. And he takes his big trident out and destroys your mercy button. So you can't use the spare mechanic, right? You can't run away either. You just have your fight, your act, and your items. So for the longest time, probably, I want to say 15 times, before I finally was like, okay, I'm fucking out. Maybe even 20. I fought Asgore, and for the first 10 of them, it was probably 7. Because, like, you can talk to Asgore and be like, hey, Asgore, I don't want to fight you. And the first time he kills you, you can go back and fight him, and you could say, you've already killed me once, and Asgore will just, like, nod. And then it goes up until 7. Or actually, I think it's 10. It goes up until 10. You can keep saying, like, hey, you've killed me 7 times. You've killed me 8 times. Asgore will just continue to nod and continue to kill you until it gets to 10. And then just says, you tell Asgore he's killed you too many times to count. And Asgore's just like, yup. And he keeps killing you. And I just kept getting destroyed by one of his moves that I could not dodge. And I got so mad. But, like, I was like, Sierra, there's got to be a way that I can beat this game without fighting. And, like, she looked it up and she's like, no, you have to use the fight button. And I was like, what? What the fuck? I was so mad because I had literally not used the fight button the entire game. It seems completely like you completely like the game can be finished without using the fight button. And then it takes you to here. And, like, I was just so frustrated that is what the game, like, mechanically, you just cannot beat this fight if you're trying to do... You can't beat the Asgore fight without using the fight mechanic, and that was very, very disappointing to me because I think that really is just like the game. Like I looked up some reviews of this from 2015, and Nathan Grayson from Kotaku makes this point that like Undertale walks a very fine line between making you feel smart and when you outsmart what is essentially the mechanical equivalent of an unreliable narrator and kind of pissing you off. And like, yeah, the fact that you have to use the fight mechanic in the Asgore battle it was very frustrating to me. But eventually I was just like, fuck it. And then I went back and it took me like 10 minutes to go back to backtrack into a place where I could buy items. And then I bought enough healing items that I was able to get through it. But I was just very, very disappointed by that resolution, by that particular battle.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, like, that's part of what I really like about video games is like, there are moments where I really like feeling cornered into acting a certain way. That being said, that's a really, 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 really tricky thing to do narratively.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot currently think of a good example of it because, audience, I have a migraine and I am not operating at 100%. But I can tell you there's moments in... I was going back to Dragon Age, but I was just talking about it last night. There's moments in like Dragon Age where they try to make you feel cornered, but if you think about the situation for like 10 seconds, you can see that they're just not giving you an obvious option, which I'm not a huge fan of. And I feel like that's what that felt like to me, is that they just don't give you the obvious option to make you feel cornered, but that's not what's happening. So yeah, I feel like that would have hampered my experience of it too if I actually made it to that fight and if I was actually doing like true pacifist like I intended to be doing, but fucked up. Yeah. This game requires, I think for a 6-hour game, which is what it is, if you're just like blasting through, for a 6-hour game, this should not be done in one sitting. I think, but you have to like what you're doing. So, you know, just be ready for like a patient, repetitive gameplay. Like, be ready to sit there and just repeat actions and like puzzle. Like, all the fights are puzzles. You have to puzzle your way out of everything. So, I feel like had I made it to Asgore, that would have also very, very much frustrated me. Because how do you puzzle your way out of that one when the narrative so far has told you that there are no exceptions to the don't touch the fight button thing?
Yeah, exactly. So then whenever you defeat Asgore, you know, Flowey comes back and he kills Asgore because like when you fight Asgore, you get him down basically to 1 health and he's like, okay, well, you know, maybe we don't have to fight. And then Flowey like comes up from behind and kills him. And it's revealed that Flowey is actually the reincarnation of the king's like son, I think,
Yes.
whose name is Azrael, Azrael Dreamer. What did you think of Azrael and this reveal?
So Azrael is like I love a kid character, you know what I mean? I like that Frisk as a protagonist is a kid and their final confrontation is a kid. I think that's nice. You know, you get someone, you meet them on their own level. And then Azrael's like, he's the reincarnation of the son who died in the original human monster war. But he got reincarnated without his compassion, so he's corrupt, I think is what I read. Something like that.
That seems right to me. I don't know that the game 100% conveys the lore super well.
Yeah, I went into some additional reading because I had no idea what the fuck was happening. I don't know. Like, I didn't play it, so my feelings are very, like, filtered through watching it happen, but I feel like I would have felt kind of... For a game that really relies on you wanting... on hope as a mechanic, right? So, like, every time you save, it tells you to stay determined. Every time... I don't know if you read any of the, like, monster history books, but a lot of them are, like... There's one quote that fucked me up pretty good that was like, monster souls are made out of like hope and love and determination, but humans have proved you don't need any of that, which is wild. So for a game that wants you to believe that like hope and love and determination are the operating kind of like forces in the world, for you to go through an entire game, either in the pacifist or the neutral run, like trying your best not to kill, and then be forced into this confrontation that has just ruined an outcome you were forced into that you thought you'd won anyway by not killing Asgore, that just feels almost confrontational from the side of the developer, you know? Like, it feels almost antagonistic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I'm not a fan of games doing.
Yeah, we will talk about the conflicting views between the developer and their narratives. Yeah, well, did you watch the true pacifist ending though, right? You find out what happens if you get the quote unquote good ending.
Yes.
So it's fine. It's fine. I'm happy with it. Basically, what happens is that you go back and you do some special stuff. You find out that Dr. Alphys was like doing weird experiments and like trying to figure out how to inject determination into people and like fusing monsters together. It was really weird, and like there's a whole sequence underneath the lab that like was very frightening to me. Like it was really scary. There's like a whole scene with like a shape like wiggling in a shower curtain, and when you like pull it back, the shape's not there. And like there are some sequences in that lab scene that were just really scary, even though like it was just like my wife was like right there next to me, like telling me how to beat them. I was just like so afraid. But like in the end, you go back, you confront Asgore one more time, and then what happens is like it's revealed that Flowey comes back and like all your friends are there. Flowey comes back and like captures them all, and it's like I'm gonna kill them all, and it like holds you in this state of suspended animation until you finally like basically you just hit the button enough times to like get all your friends to come help you. They reach in and they unlock the secret of Flowey's heart, and it's revealed that he's Azrael Dreamer, and he has like a cool like rainbow winged form, and he looks dope as hell. And eventually the game is smart in that it doesn't let you die at this point, because if like I was dodging shit, but like I don't think I was actually dodging shit. Like I'm sure that like it was just like keeping me at 1 health, because like if the game had like stopped and like made me redo this whole thing, I would have just thrown myself through a window. But like you win, you reset the timeline, you free everyone, and you break the barrier, and it's good, and nobody dies. And that's fine. I'm happy with that resolution. But like, as we'll talk about in a second, unfortunately, I think what the game is saying in the genocide route is a lot more interesting, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But so there is something that you may not know about Undertale, which is that it is related to Homestuck.
Yeah, Toby Fox, who is the developer of Undertale, worked on Homestuck, and if you have that context going in, you can definitely see the influence, whether or not working on Homestuck influenced Toby Fox, or if Toby Fox's influence is just that visible on Homestuck. It's obvious. Aaron, did you ever read Homestuck?
No, I have never seen a Homestuck ever. I do not know how I missed it in 2014, but I've only just ever been like, you've seen those memes where it's like, oh, every once in a while somebody accidentally recreates Homestuck again.
Yeah, oh god. Well, okay, so Homestuck, for those of you who, like Aaron, might have missed it, is just like a very, very long-running multimedia webcomic experience. Like, it's kind of comic, it's kind of game, it's kind of video, kind of musical. It's a lot. Really high production value for once it gets going. Mixed reception. I would say more notoriety than maybe it deserves in the negative sense. Like a lot of people hate on it because it's popular. I think I liked it. It went on a lot of hiatuses, so I kind of lost track of it in the hiatuses. But while I was into it in 2013, I really liked it. I thought the story was fun. And so like it's it is what it is. Take it with a grain of salt. I wouldn't listen to the overly negative criticisms of it, but I wouldn't listen to too much of the hype either. Like it's a media property, which means it is imperfect by nature. But the thing that I really picked up on was, first of all, like the Sans Papyrus font jokes. Like those are very Homestuck. The music being like such a big part of it, very Homestuck. Really quick, I'm gonna interrupt myself. Did you know Drill worked on the Homestuck game?
Not until that Sarah Zed video came out in April. I'll put a link to that in the show notes, but if you have any interest in learning about Homestuck and Undertale connection to that, you watch this fucking 2-hour video about the history of that particular web series.
Yeah, please do. It is fucking wild. But anyway, so Drill worked on that shit. Anyway. But the other thing that I kind of picked up on was just this, like, thematic... There's, like, a thematic overlap between Homestuck and Undertale. And it's a thematic overlap that, I was really, really into between, like, 2012 to 14. And that I think I'm a little bit oversaturated on now, which probably affected my enjoyment of Undertale a little bit. But it's this very, like... It's this... I think what it tries to be is a subversion of the, like, power of friendship trope in a lot of media, you know what I mean? Like, I think it tries to be this like deeper exploration of, like, love and hope and healing is the ultimate force with a twist on it, you know, like something goes wrong, or like you talk about the ultimate evil, or like how does love overcome. Like in Undertale, it is again this kind of... God, I hate to say it, because I don't think this was the intent, but I think it might come off a little patronizing. Like, in a narrative that sets you up to say, like, if you use hope and love and determination to get through this cataclysmic conflict, then you will succeed, right? Like, it is setting you up with that premise in the beginning, and then at the end telling you, like, ha ha ha, no, actually, fuck you, you're a fool. It feels to me a little bit patronizing, I guess, depending on the audience it's targeting, and in this case it's like teens. So I don't know how I feel about that kind of like borderline cynical take.
No, I see what you're saying. Like, you know, making you have to use violence at any point at the end is kind of like, you know, it does kind of undercut its whole message of, like, you know, just try to be friends with everyone. And, like, the ways in which Undertale, in order to get the true ending, makes you replay it and makes you go through a bunch of other weird stuff that is not hopeful or cheerful, and like does not fill you with determination, and like it's revealed that determination is actually like something that is extracted from the souls of monsters or whatever. It is a little bit of a tainting of its message that you know, I wish they didn't include.
Yeah, which, just to be clear, like, I'm not saying that in a property that is using hope, love, and motivation as a driver, you can't have dark moments. Like, yeah. She-Ra is really good, I think, at balancing a narrative based on hope, love, and determination with some, like, truly fucked up shit. You know, like, the main villain rides around in a megachurch with a bunch of clones of himself. Like, there's some shit happening in that animated show.
We gotta watch She-Ra. No, now I want to watch She-Ra.
Oh, absolutely, we should. It's really good. But, yeah, so, you know, I'm not saying that, like, if that's your driving force in your story, like, you can't have some, like, cynical, grimdark shit. You can. It's just, how are you implementing it? And I think that both Homestuck and Undertale have moments where they implement it well. Like I mentioned that quote from when you're reading in the library about how humans don't need compassion or something in their souls to be living. Like, that hit really hard. I thought that was really good. Then there's moments where I don't think it works very well, which is when it feels like narratives are made complicated for the characters for the sake of making them complicated, and not because something in the universe is driving that complication. So I think there's like a fine line, and like that Kotaku review said, sometimes it's walked and sometimes it's crossed.
Yeah, definitely. There were definitely some frustrating aspects of it. Like in those ways, it is very much like an old school RPG. But, like, there were definitely some really, really fun bits. Like, did you want to talk about the world?
Yeah, I would love to talk about the world. Hey, Girlsby's a fire, and I think that's very good.
It's just, yeah.
I just really like that Grillsby, who has a fucking tavern or whatever. He's just a fire. I think that's really great. I also like that the world made its own justification for Christmas, which is that a monster you fight right before you get into the town has like a bunch of decorations on him, and then they made up this whole lore about having to give him gifts, and now they put it under a tree. That's very good. I think that's very funny. It like the first two towns are so fun and charming. Every confrontation I had with a dog was the best confrontation with a dog I've ever had in a video game.
Yeah, the monsters are really fun. A lot of them, especially in the earlier parts. Not so much the later ones. I couldn't beat some of the ones in the later ones. I just had to run from them. But like my favorite. So there is one monster that is like a horseman with abs. And his name is Aaron, which was confusing to me as somebody who named their PC Aaron. I was like, that's a weird coincidence, but like you have to outflex him, and the way you beat him is by flexing so much that he flexes himself off the screen, which is funny.
And the reason Aaron found out that the monster's name is Aaron is because I sent him a screenshot of Aaron flexing in.
I was like, oh, okay, good. It's not just me.
It's just Aaron flexing. I love Aaron so much. He's very good. Yeah, you got any other ones?
The pair of knights where like they're trying to capture you, but like they're also like secretly in love with each other, I think was very fun. Like the way you beat them is like you have to polish off the armor of one knight, and because you're in like the hot land, like his armor gets too hot, so he has to take it off. And then his partner is like, oh wow, now I can see your glistening pecs, and I'm like, really, oh, I don't know how to do about this. And then you have to convince that other guy to be like, just be honest about your feelings. And once you beat them, like they have this big confession of love, and then they go and get ice cream, and it's fun.
It's very good. I really like the knights. I also like the dogs. That the pair of dogs that you fight.
That are like married.
Yeah. So you walk into the first area and it says "Beware dog wedding," and I'm like, here we fucking go. The second sign says, no, you didn't read that wrong. Beware dog marriage. And then you go and you get these dogs, and they're just like, I think they like have hoods over their eyes or some shit so they can't see you, but they smell you and they're like, you smell weird. And the way you win that fight is you roll around in the mud, and then they think you're just a weird puppy, and then you pet them and they lose their fucking minds. They're like, dogs can pet other dogs? That's so funny to me. And then when you go into the Grillsby's fucking tavern, which is probably my favorite location in the game, honestly, you go into Grillsby's tavern and all the dogs you fight are there. And so if you talk to the married dogs, they're like, still blowing my mind, man. Like, you still could fucking dogs petting other dogs, man. My life is different. And you talk to, there's like another dog that was, he really wanted a treat, but I forget what his whole shtick was, but you can talk to him too. And then you can talk to Greater Dog, which is like the big, like, night dog that pops up out of the snow. And he doesn't talk. All the audio in the game drops when you click on him, and he just barks.
And that's it.
It's really good! So you can talk to all your fun dogs. And you can also talk to the married bro knights when they're chilling outside the castle. They're like, hey man, don't tell anyone we let you go. But like, thanks. Yeah, some really good monster gags. I also like the ice cap, the one with the cool hat, where you have to beat him by telling him his hat is cool, but you have to ignore him just long enough that he's like a little bit self-conscious. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some really fun monsters, I think, in the game. Yeah. Oh, and how could we forget? Oh my God, what is his name? The ghost, the ghost that lays down.
Napsta Block.
Napsta Blook.
Blook, yes.
Napsta Blook, my sweet baby. You beat him by complimenting him, and then when you go to his house, if you lay down with him long enough, you just like enter a meditative state, and everything is spaced for a while. I think I stayed there for like 3 minutes. Just
it was
staring.
nice, yeah.
It's so good.
Just lying down on the floor.
With a little ghost. It's really good. On the Steam community page, somebody made a 3D rendering of Napstablook and Frisk laying down on the floor. I'm like, hell yeah, that's really great. That's the kind of fan content I'm looking for.
That's nice. Okay. This game does something, which is that it has, as we've been alluding to, 3 endings. It has the neutral ending, the good ending, and the genocide ending. And like, I do wish that games, it does kind of bum me out when games make you replay them to get the quote unquote true ending. And like, one egregious example is apparently a Shadow the Hedgehog game for GameCube that you had to beat 11 times in order to get the canonical ending, which is wild.
Game devs in that era were on some shit.
Yeah, just unhinged. Nier Automata is probably the most famous one, the 2017 game by fucking Yoko Taro. But like, yeah, that is the one where it's like they, you in order to like beat it, you have to play through 5 different endings, and the last time you play it, I don't think you have to actually play through the whole game 5 times, but like you do have to replay a lot. And like, once you get to like the 3rd ending or something, like you start getting new content, but like it is wild. And like at the end you have to delete your save file in order to like help other people, break through whatever is going on in the Nier universe. But like, yeah, I don't love that just because I like have a job now.
I'm in shock. I've entered a state of shock, I think.
Oh no, did you not know about Nier?
No. I thought we were over this.
No.
Listen, in this economy.
Exactly.
In this economy, I don't only have a job. I do things that are work outside of work. I play video games rarely. I don't got much. I've been trying to get through Pillars of Eternity 2 for a year now. I'm this close. I would have finished it yesterday if I didn't have to play Undertale.
Toby, how could you do this to us?
I understand that children play many game, but the people with the disposable income, we also play game. And we have little time. Help. This is why Supergiant Games reign supreme for me, because they're like, hey, you want a game that could be 20 hours but could also be 100 hours? Here's Hades. I'm like, thanks, babe. Perfect.
So, Undertale does this thing that I think is actually the most interesting thing about Undertale, which is that if you go down the quote-unquote genocide route, like we've talked a lot about how we don't want to use the fight button, but if you go and you play through the whole game and you kill as many people as possible and like level grind in order to kill all the monsters possible, you get the bad ending. And Undertale becomes a very different game about like halfway through it when you start doing this. Like Sans will like straight up tell you like, hey, if you keep going down this road, you're gonna have a bad time. And what happens if you just do this over and kill all the monsters, like the towns will just be abandoned. People will know that you're like a killer and you're coming, and like people will just like not show up in the towns. Alphys will evacuate everyone. So like, the music will be pitched down, but like basically it just becomes a completely different game where like you are just a murderer running through the Undertale universe and just like slaughtering people. And at the very end, what happens is like Flowey, who has been like, the antagonist for all the good endings, like begs you for mercy and is like, wait, no, I thought we were friends, and like, please don't hurt me. And you kill Flowey, and then you fight Sans. Leyla, do you know the song Megalovania?
Yes.
Okay. Megalovania is probably the most famous piece of music from this game. It's a very good song. It's a fucking great song. Toby Fox, he's written music for Smash, but I think that's largely because Megalovania became so popular. Great song. Megalovania is only accessible if you do the genocide route and fight Sans. The best piece of music in this game is something that you can only get because if you do something the game explicitly tells you not to do. And that shit drives me up a wall.
Yeah. I wonder, is it, so I know there's a Undertale Megalovania. I wonder, because I know there's a Homestuck. Hold on. Megalovania. Yeah, there's also a Homestuck song called Megalovania. That is also one of the best pieces of music in the Homestuck canon. So I will... Is it the same song? I don't think so. It can't be. Anyway, we'll figure it out.
This is Aaron from the next morning. Leyla actually found out that this is the same song. Don't add us, please.
Yeah.
No, it's written by Toby Fox, though. That's very funny.
Yep, there you go. He put a Homestuck in Undertale.
All right. And Megalovania books.
Yeah.
Yeah, like being rewarded for the thing the game tells you not to do.
And like, listen, that's of course like a very difficult fight, and like, you know, it's supposed to be intentionally difficult, but like, you know, when you actually do finally beat Sans, like it does like have some very interesting stuff. Like, you know, the final mechanic is like, you know, he's just like, okay, I'm never going to take my turn. Like my last attack is just like making you stall out here. And like, it takes several minutes for you to like actually like get to the point where he, you know, you're able to sneak over to the fight button and kill him. And then finally, when you play the game, this is where that screenshot I put in our notes, Leyla, comes up. But you meet this girl, and it's revealed that that girl is Kara, who is the sibling of Asriel. You know, the human sibling that died or whatever. I'm not sure which one of them dies, but it's revealed that, you know, this is the person that like. I'm not sure exactly what happens, but basically Kara is, you know, your player character, whatever you name it, you know, it is implied that Kara is the person possessing Frisk and making them, you know, do whatever. And at the very end, Kara gives you the option to erase the save file because you're like, okay, you know, you've killed everyone in this game. Clearly, you know, you're just here to destroy everything, and that's fine. And if you don't, you get this thing where this little girl's face, like her eyes go all black, and then her face, you know, malforms, and like you get this jump scare where she turns into this like terrifying visage and asks you, you know, since when were you the one in control? Crashes your game, and then you have to like completely like hack into Undertale and like mess with the files in order to ever be able to play it again. Like if you go back and try to play it, like it takes literally 10 minutes for you to get like another line of dialogue from Kara, who like, you know, continues to lecture you about how terrible you are. And like this sort of thing where the game developers will be like, hey, like they address this when you have your fight with Flowey. Like Flowey's just like, hey, you know, I bet there's like, you know, you're just doing this just to see what happens. Like, and he's like, you know, they even put a shout out to like YouTube streams. It's like, I bet, you know, there's hundreds of people watching that like didn't do this themselves, but they're just watching just to see what happens. And they're sickos too. And I think it's so disingenuous. This happens in Spec Ops: The Line, where like they keep telling you like, oh, hey, you have to go through the world, you have to play the game, but also the game's telling you to stop, and it's like, oh, do you feel like a hero because you're, you know, actually the bad guy, you've been the bad guy the whole time. And I think it's very disingenuous for game designers to be like, hey, we worked very hard to make sure this is an interesting part of our game. Also, why did you do it, you stupid gamer, you nasty little pervert? You know, why did you see our art the way we wanted it to be seen?
I think you just got to the point I was trying to make earlier, like a lot more gracefully and with a lot more efficiency than when I was trying to make it in the first place. But it's getting back to that premise of like manufactured conflict, you know what I mean? Where there is nothing really within the world of the game that is forcing this like faux negative outcome, you know, like there's no like driving motivation for you within the context of the game world. Like it is very much a meta narrative, but the problem is that the meta is the game developers talking to you in a sense of like trying to make you feel like a bad person by doing the thing they like kind of want you to not want to do. Like it's really odd. It's an odd conversation to be having, and I feel like a lot of it happens when the people involved in writing aren't necessarily looking at these conflicts that they're writing, especially in something like Spec Ops: The Line, which is like an American military conflict happening, I believe, in the Middle East, right?
It's in Dubai. Yes.
In Dubai. So, if that writing team has never had to face a conflict like that as a minority, it's a different conversation to be having, to be like, well, here we are from a position of power talking to you in a position of power as an American, presumably, and we're going to make you feel like a bad person in like a way that is unmotivated by anything but the fact that we want to make you feel like a bad person. Like, it's just a really weird conversation to be having, and I don't really understand how that's supposed to be fun or entertaining, which games should be at least entertaining.
Yes, I don't think that games necessarily need to be, fun. Like, I appreciate... Here's the thing. I really like that Undertale did this, right? I think there is something to be said about, like, examining the traditional tropes of RPGs and being like, yeah, what would a world look like if you were just somebody that went around, murdering people? Like, I think that's a good thing, but, like, it is very much, I feel, a dated narrative, right? I mean, maybe it's because Undertale covered this ground and, like, we've already had that cultural conversation. Unfortunately, I don't have as long of a games memory to be able to be like, to look at maybe, some of the older, games that have came before and like have probably posed this, because I guarantee it's not a new proposition. It's just new to me. But yeah, I am happy Undertale has, sparked this conversation in our generation. But I do feel like, its time was, back in 2015. And games keep evolving, our culture keeps evolving. It's like we said with Avatar, right? Like our cultural consciousness and vocabulary continues to develop at a pace that is faster than media is produced. And as long as that is the case, we're going to get things that are a little bit dissonant, and that's okay. But again, I am super glad to have played Undertale. And like Undertale says, I won't be playing it again.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And I'm not sure if I said this on air or if I started saying this before we recorded, but this experience was a lot like us watching Akira, which is to say that we are two people who really enjoy media history and really enjoy talking about media and its like specific properties' contribution to the cultural conversation. I think it is fine that sometimes we encounter things that are time capsules, which is exactly what Undertale is. And in a 2015 read, I think we would have reacted a lot differently. Aaron would have been high on life, and I would have been fucking miserable, struggling to get through it, probably crying to Megalovania at the end of the day. But in 2021... it's just, we have a different cultural perspective, and I think while both of us can appreciate certain aspects of the mechanics and the gameplay, it's just not for us, and that's okay. I think the critical conversation we've had about it has been worthwhile, and please don't send us mean emails.
The thing is that for a game we didn't like very much, we did spend like 70 minutes talking about it, so like... That's better than Akira, so I'll take that.
Akira, we couldn't even fucking start. Yeah, no, it's like I said, it's good. It's just not for us, and that's fine.
I would agree.
And yeah, cool. Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on the internet at AaronSXL, where I talk about health policy, politics. You can listen to the other podcasts I do at The Bible Boys. Again, this is a week in advance. I don't know what we're doing this week. Hopefully it's fun. I recently, maybe listen to our Gods and Generals one again. It was a weird one, but me and Josh did talk a lot about the Civil War, if that's your thing. Leyla, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at LEYLSES on Tumblr and Twitter, and no longer Instagram. I am leaving Instagram. I don't need it. It's making some changes that are not worth my time. So just Tumblr and Twitter. You can also sign up for my quarterly newsletter at my homepage, which is LeylaMamadova.com. And that's how you'll get my essays. And this month I might write about how Dom Toretto is an anime character. We'll find out.
Excellent. I'm so psyched for that one. Oh, our theme song is Obsolete by Keshco from the album Filmmaker's Reference Kit Volume 2. Find more of their music at keshco.bandcamp.com. Leyla, how we got to close it out this time?
Aaron, I know we've been doing this podcast for like 59 weeks now, but I got a real troubling question for you. Is anime real?
We'll see you all next week.